Hi, welcome to Utopia Clivias. I'm Carrie, and this is my son Luke.
Hello, hello.
And we're very happy to have you all here. We have some special guests from Russia, all the way from Russia. That's Margarita and Sophia. Today is all about interspecific Clivias. As you know, this is the time for them to flower. And because they don't flower when the other big miniatas flower, I thought it good to just do a little bit of something so people can actually enjoy these flowers and to teach you a little bit more about them. So I've been breeding Clivias for about 27 years. Clivias is my absolute passion. I mean, I eat, I live, I breathe Clivias. So for me, interspecifics is the line I am very interested in. So most of my breeding is with interspecific Clivias. Luke started also a long time ago.
When
Let
I
me
was
tell you.
10 or 11, I wasn't forced into it, but I did enjoy Clivias. So, and then it just went on. It's been 20 years already. So my passion is pollinations. That's what I love meticulously, knowing what we're going to do, what the future holds, because it's going to take years and years to get to where we want, our end goal.
And I'm hoping that one day Luke will step in and take over from me. So I think I've taught him well.
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Hoping that one day I can also be an old lady that sit on the veranda and just watch the flowers and drink her coffee.
I think I want to do that first now.
Okay, so most people will ask, what are interspecific Clivias? So interspecific Clivias are basically interbreeding with different species of Clivias. So most of you, maybe not all of you know, there are 6 Clivia species. The miniata, which is the big flower, which flowers mainly in September. And then we have 5 pendulous species, the gardenii, the robusta, the mirabilis, and the nobilis. So when we breed one of those species with another species, it's an interspecific hybrid. And this is what we've created. 99% of what you see here today are interspecific. So they're 2 species that were combined and hybridized. So we've got a...
This is one of them.
Luke's going to show you
plant.
examples throughout the day.
Okay, this is in gourmet gardenii. So you can see the flowers are tiny. And now with this, and then a normal miniata, oopsie.
Put it on the floor for now.
Okay, something like that. So across this one, the gardenii with the miniata, or vice versa, doesn't matter. Then you get something like this. Where's the F1? There. That's the one.
Then you'll get something like this in your first generation.
So those two.
This is a gardenii,
similar to those colors.
Crossed with a miniata. Yeah. This is your baby. It's just because most Clivias are dominantly orange. Yes. So you can do either from this to that, or from the miniata to the gardenii, and then you'll get your first generation or your F1. So people will often ask, what is a F1 if we talk about a F1? F1 is for your first generation hybrids or children.
It's like your family tree. It starts from the top and just keeps going. Yeah. And
okay, so
those are all hybrid. That's a hybrid. That's a species from...
This is a species. This is a gardenii.
Yeah.
So this is one of the pure species, yes. So from your F1, we then go to a F2 or a F3 to create better colors, better shapes, better umbels. So this is your stepping stone to the other things that you've been seeing in the garden, in the pollination house, on the table here. So everything takes time. I mean, from pollination to flowering is a good 4 to 6 years, sometimes even longer in interspecifics.
Okay, we actually have a few examples. So this pink one, this is the mother, or either the pod or pollen parent. Pod being the mother, pollen being the father. This pink one has bred this other pink one. You can see it's quite similar.
One of his children.
Yeah, okay, the flowers are falling off, but it's one of its children. Now, this is the brother or the sister.
Of that
Exactly the same cross. You see, that is much, much nicer than the brother. But because of its genes, we're keeping it and breeding again. Now that's pollinated again. Now this, so that was just its pollen onto another mother. This is the mother cross something else. That gives you something even nicer. Yes.
So all
Yeah.
three, those plants basically are children of this
Our
mother
children,
plant.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So-
Now, sorry, there's another example. This one actually is one of our show winners. It doesn't look like it did go to the show. That's Secret Desire. So it's also, okay, flowers are falling off, oopsie. That is also a very good breeder. It's bred a lot of very nice things. So here, just with its pollen, because it barely makes any seed. So just its pollen that gets put onto anything else. There's one, a versicolor. So you see, most of them are pollen. No, they're all seeds. So meaning we pollinate the plants. Because this one struggles to make any seed. It barely makes anything. So its pollen is very good. And it's just its pollen used on another plant. And it makes something like that. And this as well. This is Pastel Lantern cross Secret Desire. Crossed with this one. Something similar to that F1. And then it made that. So
can you just tell me a little bit more about pollination?
we're going to get to that now. Yes, we're getting to pollination as well.
All right, so people ask us, why do we breed interspecifics? Not only are they more hardy than the normal miniatas because of the species that's in the genetics, they flower for longer and they flower at different times because a lot of the species flower from April to October. So if you're bringing that gene in, you can have flowers from May, June, July, August, September. So you have a much longer flowering season. So you can see what's flowering now. You'll see a lot that have finished flowering. We've had flowers since May. Up until then, when the miniatas, because the miniatas all flower mostly in September. So it gives you a much longer flowering season. The second reason is the colors you can create with interspecifics. These kind of colors you don't often find in the big miniata flowers. So it's to create new desirable traits and characteristics and colors and their hardiness. And how do you take care of them? Exactly the same as the other Clivias. They like shade or semi-shade, but with enough light to flower well, not too much water, a slow release fertilizer, so they don't get treated anywhere else than the normal miniatas.
Okay. So pollinating.
I'm gonna make some space for you.
Yeah, let's make some space. Pollinating, to make your F1s, first you need good eyes. So
That's not me, so he does most of the pollination.
now, we normally harvest our pollen like a little tube you get at the lab, just so we can store it in the fridge and things like that. So we basically take off the pollen. So you see the yellow there? And we're just gonna basically pinch it off. Pinch it off. But you can use an earbud, you can use your finger, you can use whatever.
Show the side also, Luke.
And you take
Just something like that. Yeah.
all of that in that one flower, all of it.
You can do as much as you want, and you can store it for up to 2 years in your fridge. And you obviously need to shake it. And then you see your pollens on top there. And you throw out your pollen anthers, because that will get dirty and it will get wet. You don't want moisture in here either, otherwise it rots. Okay, so our pollen's sitting on top there. It's all sitting on top.
Is there something sticky that it's got to be?
It's sticky itself, like naturally occurring, it's sticky. Yeah. Yeah, I'll show you now. Now, obviously, we need to know what you want to do with this So that's a green. That's a Urao green, first flower, very nice. So the reason that we're going to do this cross is to make something with green. Maybe in the first generation, second generation, something like those, but we want the green because this already has green. So the flowers are going to be small, yes, because you see how small those flowers are. So now pollinating. Oh, to show everybody. Okay, let's do this.
Yeah, put it on the chair there. That's fine.
Yeah, it is a big plant, and I don't think people want big plants like this in their garden. Okay, maybe in the garden, but for us, having a big plant like this takes all the space. So we want to try get them nice and small. That's also the nice thing about breeding. You see how big the mother is and how small the plants get.
Just so
Also
much
become
better,
nice and more and compact. Okay, so now you need to try and look for the pollen anther. Oopsie.
on the chair.
Okay. Sometimes you can use something like an earbud as well because it's very, very small. Just take some of that pollen off. See there, you can see the yellow that's on there. Very tiny. That's why I said you need very good eyes. And then it will go. See your pollen anther. Your anthers are sitting there. Stigma is there, and it just needs to get pollinated. Just like that. You're going to have to look very closely and see. See, pollinated. You guys can come look a bit late and see where the pollen is on the stigma, but it takes a bit of time. Takes a bit of time. You can go on. I'm just going to pollinate. It's going to take some time.
Pollinate the whole plant, okay?
Yeah, might as well just do it because then it's done. Okay, need a bit more pollen.
Okay, so when we decide what to pollinate with what is, you have to have something in mind. So what Luke is doing there, he's thinking of something with green in. So he's taking a mother plant with lots of green in, and he's using a pollen plant, which is then the father, also with green in, to create something with like maybe green stripes or green around the edge. Or you can go for pinks, like these kind of pinks, which is also quite popular. You don't often find pink flowers in the miniature-shaped flowers. There's a lot of different kind of interspecifics.
Okay.
We've got Versi blushes. So this is like a versicolor but with blush. This is called strawberry mousse. She's beautiful. And she was bred out of strawberry parfait. I don't know if strawberry parfait is.
That's strawberry parfait, the mother's there. Yes.
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 So when we think a plant is good enough to keep and to breed with, she gets a name. Sometimes some people call them he's, but I tend to think that they're quite feminine. So to me it's a she, and it's mostly feminine names. Yes. So yes, there's a international Clivia register. The Clivia Society has an international Clivia register on their website. So a lot of our plants we've registered there. Once you've named it and you are going to continue breeding with it, you can register that name. There's also multicolors. You want to grab that little one out there?
The emperor.
Yeah. A multicolor. A multicolor is where there's more than two colors in a flower. So you can see it's got green stripes. You've got a dark on the outside of the petals. And those green stripes are actually quite nice. Yeah. I don't know what to say.
Okay, so I've done my pollination. I've got the little black book with everything written down. Okay, the handwriting is ugly, but it's mine. Doesn't matter. So now I know exactly what I did with that plant. In case I don't write it on the stem. You see we wrote there with the koki. So that's when we cut the seeds off next year when they're ripe, so we know exactly what the cross is, everything like that. Then we write our code on for the seed list as well. Okay, so that's done. And then we even mark the pollen with a little sticker. We'll mark it and say, okay, because we're keeping this for 2 years. If we want to use it on something that doesn't flower every year as well. Clivias don't flower every year. If they've got seeds, they might skip a year. And that's what people ask and say, oh, my Clivia's not flowering this year. So have you got seeds on? I said, yes. Did you cut the seeds off? No. Okay, there's your problem. Because all the energy is going into the seeds. Yeah.
Now tell me, are you going to protect that flower now that you've pollinated? Are you going to cover
There's no need. Only when the flowers have fallen off and the seeds start forming.
Yeah.
And then we cover it. Don't have anything to cover it with. Yes. Yeah, you've seen them around the nursery. Yes, they can stay open. Yeah. And they'll just naturally fall off. They'll just naturally fall off.
So this is just another variety. This is what we'll call an orange bronze, which is also quite nice with a bit of green in.
Okay. The future.
So what do we think about the future of interspecific Clivias? Well, Luke and I here at Utopia Clivias think that interspecifics are the future of Clivias. This is where we can create colors like you can't believe, shapes. Miniatas are all the same shape. Maybe there's big ones and small ones, but interspecific Clivias, if you look at just this table and all the different shapes, some more pendulous, some upright, some open, some recurved. I just think there's endless possibilities, and that is why we're going to definitely continue breeding with interspecifics. We've got a question and answer session. If
When do your grandchildren take over?
my grandchildren are 2 and 4, and they definitely are going to take over from Luke.
Okay, does everybody have any questions? Okay,
Okay,
get
just
the microphone, yes. Okay, there's the first one, yeah. Just so we can hear. Seeds in a normal mini art. Sometimes you see in your garden, you see a big bunch of flower seeds. Maybe make 4 to 7 per pod. So in a mini otter can do anything maybe 15 up per pod. So that mini otter could have maybe 100 seeds on a head. This is going to be 20, maybe 30. So it's a lot more difficult to get seeds set on an interspecific. It just takes a bit longer, and it just, yeah, it's not as abundant as a normal, because it's so interbred. So you also don't know the genes in some of the plants. Some of these don't set any seeds. Just like that secret desire doesn't set seeds, a belly's maybe one little seed. And then you have to wait another 5 years to see if it's actually worth that. So that's why we use its pollen. So yeah, some plants like warm heart and that, they don't make any seeds. And you can try every single year, you're going to get nothing.
but their pollen is good. So
Yes.
some plants are good breeding plants, not because they set good seeds, but their pollen is very viable and they breed really good children, like Secret Desire, like
Strawberry
Warm Heart.
Parfait, Secret
Yeah.
Hope. Actually, this is actually another. This is also that Secret Hope.
This is also one of our mother plants.
Yes.
And we just want to show you. It's called Secret Hope. My pink range are all called Secret this, Secret that, and this is a new child.
Yeah. So
And I mean, that's a great
I think
improvement.
it's worth waiting. It's 4 to 6 years.
Yes. Even the size of the plant is
Yeah.
half the size of the mother. Look at the colors of that plant.
So you're not sure of what color you're going to get in the pot?
Okay, do you want to,
You've got some idea of the color?
Africa, do you want to put a microphone there? You can give it to me.
You can just pass
Pass the microphone to you. Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, now so today is pollination.
Yes.
Do you know what the baby's going to look like?
We know the history and the breeding background of our plants. So you've got more or less an idea, but it also, you can't say. Like I showed these examples, this and that, those are brother and sister. The mother is pink. So you've got more or less an idea, but it's just a gamble kind of thing. But you need to use good plants. You don't want to use orange cross a yellow because that's going to be orange, because orange is dominant. So you need to use something that you know that has very good genes. That's why if you buy a plant with no name, for me I can't do anything with that. I need to know its history, where it came from, what group it comes from, all that kind of thing.
How often do you transplant?
Here we go.
How often do you transplant your plants and caring for them?
Okay, so we transplant seedlings from small pots, big pots maybe once a year, and then mother plants like these big plants, I would say every
Couple of years, like
every
3 or 4
couple of years, like 3 or 4 years, when they've outgrown their pots. Clivias like to be tight in their pots. So the fact that they've got a lot of roots sticking out, it's not detrimental to them. They like being pot bound or root bound. It makes them flower better. So if you over pot your plant, you're using a big pot like that and you're putting the little plant in the middle, it's going to make lots of leaves and not flower because it's growing so well in there. So you have to stress them a bit. They like being stress induced to flower. More questions?
Do you take the seeds off or do you take the whole stem off? Because I normally wait till they are, they basically almost fall off. But
We cut them off at an angle. Down, let them dry for a week or two, and then you clean the berries. You need to clean the berries, yeah. As long as when they color up, the seeds start coloring up, and you touch them and they feel a bit soft, and they can move inside, then you know your seeds are ready. Normally June, July. If you pollinate September, June, July next year. So about 9 months, and the seeds will be ready.
the stem off.
We cut the stem off. So just literally with a scissor right there, at an angle so it can die off naturally. Yeah.
How do you know when your pollination, how do you know when it's viable, when it's going to produce?
So what will happen when the flowers finish, let me show you an example. Here's a better example.
Yeah.
When the flowers finish after pollination, you'll see the ovaries start swelling. So what happens, it will stay green and they'll just swell up more and more and more. If the pollination didn't take, that little ovary will now turn yellow and it'll just drop off at that size. So here you can already see they're not yellow, they're not dropping off. So that pollination has taken well.
Can I ask that you just give a second or two after the question has been asked before you
Okay.
answer
Okay.
for the switching of the mic?
Okay.
Okay, so I wanted to ask about feeding. Can we use something like bioorganics or should we do a more commercial food?
Okay, so we feed with different things. The small plants or the seedlings get liquid fertilizer, a weak solution of liquid fertilizer. You can use the commercial product like Calpac, Seagrow, Nitrosol. That will all work for the little plants up to about 2 years old. Once they mature plants like this, we use a slow release fertilizer into the mix in the soil. If they're in the garden, you can dig it in around your plant. Something like 315 will work well once every, say, 6 to 8 months. All right.
Any other questions?
Questions here? In the back also.
Okay.
I'd like to know what pest control you do to keep away all kinds of insects and also viruses on your plants.
You can answer. Yeah.
Okay. So we do a systemic insecticide and a systemic fungicide. Systemic meaning we water it into the soil. Systemic meaning the plant is going to take it up, absorb it, and it stays in the plant for 8 to 10 months. When you do a contact spray, you spray it today, tonight it rains, tomorrow it's gone. Also, systemic is not as bad for animals and humans if it goes into the soil and into the plant, otherwise than spraying in the air. So we use, the one that the public can use is called Rose Care Plus. It's a systemic insecticide and fungicide together. We obviously use things,
Coninor.
yeah, you can use Coninor as well or Confidor. and then we use it maybe twice a year. I would say 6 to 8 months that works for us, and it controls everything: the beetles, the worms, the little aphids, the mealybugs, all of those pests. It works. And if your plants are in pots, it's easier to do, but if in the garden, you can do it that way as well.
Carrie, if you self-pollinate the interspecifics now, what can you expect from the progeny? Yeah.
Interspecifics is where you actually want to self-pollinate. If you don't know what to do with the interspecific, you self-pollinate. You're going to get little seeds already self-pollinating a Clivia. But with interspecifics, there's so many genes in this. It's got gardenia, it's maybe got robusta, it's got everything in that you can think of. And that is what makes some of the nicest things. Where, yes, that is this one actually. This is actually a selfing of strawberry parfait. That's the mother. This is actually a selfing. So it's definitely worth it. Definitely worth doing.
Yeah,
If you don't know,
self-pollination is not wrong. You're going to get less seeds because when you cross-pollinate, the seed production is just so much more. But to get really special things, you can self-pollinate. And I always tell Luke when he says, "Oh, I've gone to run out of ideas, I really don't know," then I say just self. So it's a good thing to do. More questions?
When the leaves go yellow a little bit, what is that a symptom of?
Is it yellow on the leaves on the outside leaves or the inner leaves?
More on the outside.
That just means it's dying down. And it grows 4 to 6 leaves a year. So they just basically like making its own compost and they just die down. It doesn't matter, you can just pull the leaf off. See, some of them also go yellow and you can just pull it off. Or it'll just like naturally, because they live under trees. Clivias normally live under trees. And they're just creating their own mulch.
If it's yellowing of the leaf tips of some of the newer leaves, then it can be either too much sun or too much water or a lack of water. So yes. So you have to think of where your Clivias are. Do you have an irrigation system there? It could be too much water. Do you forget to water that area? Then it's a lack of water. So it's basically stress. It's a symptom of stress. Either one of those. Yeah.
You called it Rose something, the insecticide?
Yeah. Rose Care Plus.
We've got a plague of small hairy caterpillars. Would they be handled with that as well?
How often do you water, for instance, inside? How often do you water your plants in here, and what type of shading net do you have?
Okay, watering in winter is seldom, it's just rain most of the time. If it's a hot day, you might water. In summer, you have to water once a week, depending on how hot it is. If it's 35 degrees, then you shouldn't water at all. But if it's a hot summer's day and the whole week or two has gone past and there's no rain, then you have to water.
Clivias are actually dry, shade-loving plants, so rather too little than too much water.
Yeah.
On very, very hot days, like Luke said, if it's above 30 degrees, rather than water early in the morning or late afternoon, because heat and moisture is not good for Clivias. You know, you can get root rot and rot in the leaves and funguses. So it's better to be a little bit on the dry side if it's really, really hot. And then in winter, because they should be stressed in winter, it's better for them to be cold and dry to produce flowers in spring. If you keep on watering, the plant is going to keep on growing, think, oh, okay, I'll just push out some more leaves and not flowers. So you have to induce a bit of stress in winter, and a little bit of water is one of those ways we can do it. In our area, we don't get frost or very cold winters. So we have to have different ways of putting your plant under stress. And withholding water is a way that we can do it here.
When I replant the Clivias, do you have to use a special Clivia soil, or can you just use any normal potting soil?
Your mix has to be sterile. That is your big thing. Otherwise, that if you make compost at home and you use it on your Clivias, all the funguses and any insect, they're going to jump straight to your Clivia. Any disease that any plant gets, a Clivia gets everything. It gets the soot, it gets the mealybug, it gets everything. It gets everything. So it needs to be a sterile mix, a sterile potting mix. We add a bit of bark, swimming pool filter sand, vermiculite or perlite, or polystyrene little balls. You need to aerate your mixture as well. But the most important is sterile.
It's good to buy, if you don't have access to those things, to buy a normal potting soil mix at your co-op or your nursery, and you add some bark chips or bark pieces that you use for orchids, and you mix that up. Because the potting soil from your nurseries, it's a sterile mix. So best is not to go and dig in your garden for compost. That's not, not good
topsoil is not going to work for Clivias. They'll grow for that first year, and then it's going to be,
especially if you're potting them
fall
up.
over.
And you asked about shade cloth. So shade cloth, if you walk through our garden and our nurseries, you'll see some places we have the 60, some places we have 80, some places we have 40. It depends on your sun. So if you're in full sun, like we have on the other property, there are no really big trees. Full sun, we have 80% on the top, 60% on the side, so there's airflow. Because the Clivia likes airflow to stop pests like aphids and mealybugs. They like to be in moisture and places that don't get a lot of air. So if you have shade houses, you'll see also we have doors and openings, so there's a bit of airflow all the time. There's a question there.
I've got some small Clivias, little plants that's under a tree, planted under a tree. Would it be best for me to take them out and put them in pots to get bigger?
Not really. They can be under a tree, and they can be in your garden. Clivias can grow in the gardens as long as you don't have dogs running over them and people walking over them. They grow quicker in the soil in the garden than they're going to grow in a pot because they've got more space for their roots. So as long as your soil is good and you're feeding them and you're watering them, they're perfectly fine there. Any other questions?
Okay.
Okay, so you all know enough about Clivias to go start your breeding now. There's one more question there. This is it now. You have to ask everything.
One last question. How many Clivias do you actually have right now?
Okay, so that question we get all the time, and my answer stays the same, never enough.
Yeah, there's millions. Just in a tray alone, there's maybe 50. And we planted about 200-300 every year of just trays. So that already tells you that's just every year. And then it's just, I don't know, there's too many plants. I know where everything is, but there's too many. But it's never enough, like my mom said.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
So now the coffee shop is there. Enjoy. Jade's waiting for you with cakes and tarts and.
Yes. But he's very naughty. He's like a year old, but that's why he's inside. He's jumps on everything. He was.
Yes, that's one of them. Then there's the nobilis with a harder leaf. And then there's the robusta, a very tall one. They're all pendulous little. Everything is they're all from South Africa. The gardener is Natal, KZN. Yes, and all the others, like the Colessons, Mpumalanga, Limpopo, Nobilis Eastern Cape, the Mirabilis Western Cape. So the to repeat
when
pollinate
they're babies, yes. The babies, they need a
to
feed
make sure
at
that
least once
pollination
or twice
takes,
a
and
month.
also because
Just
flowers
to get
open,
that initial. Because imagine
you
a
know, one
child
at a
who's
time. They
English.
don't all open at the same time. So a plant gets pollinated for about a week to 2 weeks here by us. So every few days you'll go and pollinate the new flowers that have opened. But
This
I
the
don't
babies,
think it's
yes.
really necessary to repeat a pollination if you've already pollinated the flowers. Normally one pollination will suffice.
I've got a place in Prostrate Sausages view. It's literally just dust. You need to bring in compost. Like we'll buy in from Grow Green.
Any other questions?
Cube or from Barcode. Yours is very nice.
From us?
It's really good. It's only selling in Cube. Barcode.
You want to ask a question?
But you get the same thing at an industry.
Yes.
You have to bring in compost, especially.
Well, if you don't, they're going to fall off and grow in the soil anyway. But we help them by taking them off, cleaning them, peeling them, and then planting the
Everybody lives on the
little
same
seeds.
Because I bought quite a lot from you last year, and I see 2 months flowering, but they've made some pods, so I must take them off.
Okay.
I remember now. I know you said they must be soft, eh?
Yes, normally this time of the year, August, September, they'll be ready. About that, about half. Yes, and then you'll see that little piece will start rotting and you just pull it out. Thank you, this lady.
Is it better to have them planted out in the garden or to keep them in pots?
No, that
Doesn't matter.
doesn't really matter.
It's just the shade.
Conditions.
It's the shade, yeah.
Yes.
Favorable.
Yes.
Rose Care Plus, which I have,
Yes, that will work.
and that will last 6 months.
6 months. Just make sure the back of the
I'll give this to you.
exactly what it says. How many.
So,
We use Connie Nor Confident. You can get that at the counter as well. Connie Nor Confident.
Connie Nor Confident, I can get
Connie
that.
Nor is the Confident, sorry, is the original, the generic.
It's Connie Nor, and I can get that from Agri.
Get them in like 500 mils or a liter. Yeah, it's very important.
And will that, and I must be careful of the dogs.
Yes. So when you spray or do anything, you can't have dogs like when Marvel we're busy spraying it with use inside at least a couple of days.
A couple of days, okay.
Because they just want to go lick stuff and they just
Got to be careful.
exactly.
And
Especially
then,
a puppy.
what about that horrible caterpillar? That
The Amaryllis worm.
Yeah.
Connie Nor Confident Rose Care will also work for that.
so Rose Care Plus will
Yes,
work.
but you have to use it at least twice a year.
Okay. So Rose Care Plus. But then I've got to watch the dogs with that. Rose Care Plus.
There was a rose cap.
There is. I've got. You know what happened with Agri? I'm friends with a guy.
1, 2. But maybe they're in front, yeah. You can wait for me there in front. All right, I think it is still morning. A very good morning to you.
Good morning.
My name is Africa.
Hello, Africa.
I'm the videographer, the photographer, and the live stream operator for Utopia Clivias. I've worked with them now. It's been almost a year. And when I first came here, I was blown away by all these plants. I've never seen something like this before. So I wanted to find out about your experience about today. How are you finding it? Maybe you can introduce yourself. We are still live. And just tell me about your experience today. What have you learned that you did not know? Or what is it new that you found out today?
Okay, good morning. My name is Diane. I've known Carrie for, many years now, probably about 10, 12 years now. And I always each year come and have a look at her beautiful Clivias. And every year I'm trying to learn a little bit more about the Clivias, but definitely today I've learned the most, just about the pollinating procedure. So I will be attempting that myself. And also about the insecticide control. I will be doing things a little bit differently so I don't have all the worms eating up my plants in the future. And also about the fertilizing and how to go about in the first 2 years using the liquid fertilizer, and in the older plants the slow release fertilizer. So yes, I've learned a lot from today's talk. So hopefully I can take that knowledge and go and try a little bit with my own plants.
That is awesome. So are you from around the garden route?
I am, yes. I am just up the road here. So yes, Carrie introduced me to all these beautiful Clivias. So love them, and yes, I'd love to carry on growing my own Clivias as well and keep supporting her in the nursery and buying some more.
Awesome. It was so incredible to watch them. I usually take videos of them and I know how nervous they get, but they seemed so confident today. It just shows that when you know exactly what you were doing, you are more comfortable with talking to people. I was quite amazed. I'm talking now from the videographer's perspective. But thank you so much. I'm sure you are in good hands and you've gotten valuable information from this session. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. A very good afternoon. I understand it is morning still. It is morning still. I understand you the second one. My name is Africa. I want to introduce myself. Africa, yes.
I'm Wynand.
Wynand.
Yes.
Tell me about your experience today.
Okay. Oh, the experience today is fantastic. I mean, the information that Carrie gives us, and what's the other man's name?
Luke.
Luke, yeah, is fantastic, and it really is an inspiration. An inspiration because Rita, my wife, standing behind me, and I have been involved in Clivia growing for a long time, and a lot of the plants we have come from
Utopia Clivias, Carrie and Luke.
Because we've been living here for 15 years, but even before that we had a holiday cottage here, and we've always been fascinated by what they do, and I'm terribly impressed with their expertise, the plants, the love for the plants, and the willingness to share.
To share that information.
And that makes all the difference.
Yeah. No.
We're very happy. We Clivia mad.
Yes.
We have not so many plants as this, but we've got enough.
Yes.
And so each September we have an absolute joy. It's a wonderful experience. And we have a few interspecifics flowering now, but most of them are the Miniata.
Incredible. Thank you so much for sharing such information and experience with us. Thank you. Thank you.
Goodbye.
You take care. Okay. As you can hear, everyone has had a wonderful experience. Everyone has learned a lot. And I was saying to my previous client here that I've been working with Carrie and Luke for quite some time now, almost a year, and it was such an impressive experience for me, live streaming this event, to see how confident they are in sharing the information. And it is not just plain information or layman information, I would say. It is a very deep information. It is complicated things, but they make it so simple. They make it sound simple. That just shows their experience and how well informed they are about these plants. Now we are going to get the next candidate or the next participant that attended this workshop and hear what they have to say. Okay. They're coming. Good afternoon, a fellow photographer.
Yes.
I see.
I see you. Yeah.
Yes, my name is Africa.
Africa.
Yes, I'm the videographer, photographer, and the live stream operator for Utopia Clivias.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, I've been working with them for almost a year, and it was such a mind-blowing experience for me when I first walked in here. Like, what?
Yeah.
I've never seen something like this. I think it was incredible, or it is incredible what they are doing here. But now I wanted to find out, sir, if you could introduce yourself and just let us know about your experience about today's session.
Certainly. My name is Dirk van der Toorn. We also from the area. We actually more Mossel Bay Reebok.
Okay.
And I've also got a whole garden full of Clivias.
Awesome.
And but this is of course the Garden of Eden here. You cannot beat this.
I agree. I agree.
And if I look at the care that goes into it, I'm mainly growing them for my pleasure. I'm not into pollination. I don't know, maybe it's my years.
They are professionals here.
It takes 4 or 5 years to see the flowers, so I'm not taking a risk. But otherwise, no, it's beautiful here. I must say the enthusiasm of Luke and Carrie, in which they actually make all this available to us. This is fantastic. Now I'm really impressed, and I'm very glad that I came today. It's quite a drive, and especially with all the roadworks going on, it takes twice as long.
But I'm sure it was worth it.
But it is absolutely worth it. When I look here, it's great. I learned a lot of things, and I know there's a lot of work for me ahead if I really have to rectify the few mistakes I've made in the past. But that's a learning school all the time.
True.
That's my wife Elaine.
True.
She's also
Hi, Africa. I'm Elaine van der Toorn. I'm just a supporter. And just flowers for me is, and the color it exhibits is absolutely amazing. And I didn't know, because we started off with a holiday home with just a plain Clivia. And then as he took them out, I said, why are you doing this? Now I bought a new one. Look at this color. I said, wow, that's beautiful. And so he started to grow more Clivias and bring in more species, taking out the more ordinary ones. I don't know what they're called, but this is an absolute utopia of color and Clivias. I've never seen anything like it, and very happy to be here. Thank you.
Incredible. Incredible. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. As you could hear it from our candidates or participants that participated here, a lot has been learned. A lot has been learned, and it takes patience. It takes, because Clivias, it's not instant gratification. It takes years for these plants to grow, 5-6 years till you see the actual flower. We've got a next person that's coming up.
This is Sophia. She's the translator. Yeah.
Hi,
this
Sophia.
Is Margarita. She's my customer.
Hello, Margarita.
They're from Russia.
From Russia. Awesome, awesome. If you can just pan to this side, you are more than welcome to come this side. A very good afternoon. We've got visitors all the way from Russia. They're going to introduce themselves. We've got a translator over here, so I'll be speaking and then we're going to be translating. A very good afternoon to both of you.
Здравствуйте, я очень рада приветствовать вас. Я очень рада, что я нахожусь в ЮАР. Мне очень хотелось, всегда мечталось попасть в питомник Clivia.
Hello, we are greetings from Russia. We're very glad to be here. My mom, everywhere, dream be here in Clivia nursery.
Tell me, how did you experience today? What did you learn from today's session?
Как ты провела сегодня? Какое у тебя впечатление о сегодняшнем дне?
У меня восторг. Я еще ничего не успела рассмотреть. Столько всего много. Столько хочется задать вопросы владельцам питомника. Просто, прекрасные растения.
She is very happy. She not expect what many special plants here. She wants ask everybody everywhere about anything.
Where do you have Clivias in South Africa, or are you growing Clivias back at home in Russia?
Yes. Да, я выращиваю много, сейчас занялась селекцией, учусь пока еще очень мало знаю, но Clivia есть, очень много проросло и зацвело семян от Carrie, они очень радуют результатами, поэтому я хочу двигаться дальше. Растения просто прекрасны. У вас в ЮАР выращивать их это просто чудо.
Yes, we have Clivias in our home, and my mom grow Clivia from carry seeds. It's show very good quality, and my mom want to know and continued this deal.
Awesome. It is incredible. Thank you very much for sharing your experience, and thank you for coming and supporting Luke and Carrie at Utopia Clivias.
Can you repeat?
Thank you very much for coming, and thank you for supporting Carrie and Luke at Utopias.
Спасибо, что посетили. Спасибо, что поддерживаете Люка и Кэрри. Все.
Фенька, спасибо за встречу, спасибо за хороший прием, спасибо Кэрри, что идет навстречу и помогает в получении растений.
Thank you for meeting. Thank you for supporting our deal and send our to us plants and seeds.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Such an incredible experience. It's not just local, it is international. It's an international business. These flowers, they are in Russia. They are all over the world. So it just goes to show the experience and the quality that is produced right here in such field at the heart of the garden route.
Как удобно сегодня или лучше в следующий день? Потом. Ну да. Что сегодня сейчас люди заняты все. Они же посетят один день. Мы тоже хотим задать вопросы. Получается, вторник, понедельник, четверг.